Jay, Bryant, or Zobrist or Schwarber in left, whoever you want to put there. It's crowded.
Yeah.
It's very crowded. That's just the reality of the situation. And I'm glad that Jorge can go and play some games for the Royals. I think he will produce. He will produce. And a lot of Cubs fans would be like, "Oh,
I agree.
why did we trade Jorge Soler?" We knew this was in him. We just didn't know if he could do it in a consistent level. And I think part of that has to do with the amount of playing time he received.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's hard playing on and off throughout the year, but like you said, he's definitely got the potential, and playing every day is definitely going to help.
It really is. And it was, like I said, it's a good baseball move for both sides. The Cubs are getting their shutdown closer in Wade Davis, guy who has filthy stuff, who has won a World Series, who has closed out some big games, and he's your ninth inning guy now, for sure. Having Strop and Rondon and Edwards and Grimm to kind of set up the way for you. That's not a bad bullpen.
That's really solid.
Yeah, not a bad bullpen at all. They have a good bullpen in the works, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this is worth it, I think. I think this is very much worth it, because even if Wade Davis walks in the offseason, you get a draft pick. Because of how the MLB is set up with free agents and stuff of that nature. So you get a player back even if Wade Davis walks. So it's worth the risk for trading a guy like Soler, who has a lot of potential, but just not a spot. I'm all for this move. It's a win for both sides, which is very rare nowadays in baseball, I'd say. A lot of times you see prospects being traded for proven pieces, or proven pieces being traded for prospects or picks. This was a good baseball move for both sides that can help both teams win now. So
yeah, absolutely.
Those are my thoughts on the trade. What do you think about it?
Okay, I thought about this a lot. It was a really busy reliever closing pitcher market. Two guys got 5-year, $80 million plus deals. And then there was another deal, just 1 year less and a little bit less money. But of the 3 guys that got signed, I would take Wade Davis over all 3 of them. And we won't have to pay him as much. We did have to give up Soler, obviously, which is a bummer. We're not going to have as deep as an outfield now. But the Cubs are in win now mode. We're at this point, you're going to have to make these moves to win. And you're replacing an elite closer with an elite closer. So definitely a win for the Cubs. And they needed to make a move like this to shore up the ninth inning. Rondon has shown he can be that guy. But with how he ended the year after his injury, there's no certainty with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs still trust Rondon in a sense, but he's not that shutdown guy that you absolutely need, who when they go out there, they're going to get the job done. Rondon still has a couple question marks. He's been great. I'm not underselling him at all. I'm a big Hector Rondon supporter, but this is just the right move. Also, the Cubs signed Uehara. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you did.
For a 1-year deal. 42 years old, but he's another guy who's very, very good against left-handed hitting, which you needed at that point.
And
definitely. It just shores it up. And I would not be surprised if they added a couple more or one more bullpen arm.
Well, they did trade or sign for Brandon Dunsing. Forget. I don't know I never heard how his name's pronounced.
Yes,
but
I think it's Dunsing.
Yeah.
So he's in there too. I don't know much about him.
Minor. Yeah, I don't know much about him either. I'd have to look him up a little bit more.
It's a minor move compared to the other ones, but I mean, he's another arm you have.
Just keep bad depth and see what you got.
Then Rob Zastrinsky, I heard that he's going to start the year in the minors, so that's another arm that you have that could stretch out the rotation, or be that stretch guy in the bullpen. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the Cubs are going to continue to build for depth, which is extremely important. So yeah, that's kind of the bullpen situation at this point. I'm sure they'll add another arm. It just sounds like that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're focused on, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So the sad news in the room, Dexter Fowler. Dexter Fowler signs with the Cardinals for 5 years, $82.5 million. And this is very sad for me. I didn't think I would be like that angry or upset with the move once he made it, because I knew it was coming. He was going to go to the Cardinals. We talked about it on the podcast before. That's where he was going. And it hurt a lot more than I expected. Let me just say.
Drew, I 100% agree with you. I had the same reaction. Just complete, like, I went to anger first. I got really angry when I saw the quote, like, we're good enough to win a World Series, blah, 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 blah. Something went off in my brain, and I just, like, lost control of myself for a little bit. But, I agree with you.
Are you okay now?
Honestly, no.
It's going to be weird seeing him line up against the Cubs on opening night. It's going to be so strange. He's a guy I really loved on the Cubs. Like, I enjoyed him so much as just like a personality, a leader, as a player, like everything. And then to see like, oh, that's pretty good in red. I'm like, it's too much for me right now. I'm emotionally unstable, and I need some help. Well, I know you've needed help for some time, but I'm glad you're finally admitting it. It's good for you. I mean, this sucks, but like, this is the reality of the situation. Like you mentioned, the Cubs are in win now mode. So would you rather be able to maybe re-sign one of those big core pieces down the road, or pay Dexter Fowler for 5 years? Or would you rather watch Almora grow in that center field role with John Jay out there now? Like, you got to give the young guys opportunities to develop. Eventually, Eloy Jimenez is going to come up and take somebody's spot, and someone else is going to have to move. So it's like, it made sense. Like, this deal makes sense. Dexter Fowler is going to be very good for the Cardinals. There's no doubt in my mind that at some point next season, when we're sitting down talking about the Cardinals and how they maybe beat the Cubs for a game, Dexter Fowler being a huge part of that. That would not surprise me at all.
I agree. The thing is, too, I don't know if he necessarily sought out St. Louis as like a team he wanted to play for. St. Louis gave him more money than every other team on the market. So when it comes down to money, obviously you're going to choose the team that's giving you the most, and that was the Cardinals. I know the Blue Jays and some other teams offered, but I heard it was significantly less than what the Cardinals offered. So in that respect, you got to kind of see the logic behind it, but it still doesn't make it any less easy on me.
I mean, it is hard. It is hard, definitely. Definitely 100%. It's going to be hard. Like, that's a reality. Like, you're going to see some players walk over the years, but Cubs are in win now mode. They're going to be in contention for years to come. And when you see that monster deal that Rizzo or Bryant's going to get down the road, it'll be all worth it, because you'll have those guys locked up.
I'll say this, too. I think he'll be really sad. Game 1, where he gets up to bat, and it's Matt Carpenter and whoever behind him. And then in the next inning, he gets to watch Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant hit after whoever hitting leadoff. So I think he'll be like, you know what? That was something special. And I hope he has a little lacrimose or something like that.
Well, let's talk about that really quick here. Who is leading off for this team? We'll just give each one-word answers of who we think will be leading off for the team at the beginning of the season. Just one word, no explanation. We'll leave you on the hook. Blake, who you got? Who's leading off?
This is more than a one-word answer, but this might surprise some people. Kyle Schwarber.
Ben Zobrist. All right, let's move on to the Bears. Let's move on to the Bears. Right. Your one word, you got your 2 words in. We'll leave that open for another conversation another time because that's important. But I think Ben Zobrist would be most equipped to be there, but Kyle Schwarber definitely an option.
One word answers, Drew.
Bears moved to 3-10 on the season. They lost to Detroit 20-17 in Detroit as well. And I don't know what the Lions did in the offseason, but they did something because they're here to play. Matt Stafford looks like an MVP candidate. And they have 8 come from behind fourth quarter victories, which is an NFL record, which is just insane. How are they doing this? How are the Lions doing this?
You said offseason, what they do in the offseason. I'll tell you, it happened before the offseason. It happened last year. I don't remember what week it was. The hiring of Jim Bob Cooter has completely revamped Matt Stafford, and ever since he's been hired, his game has elevated clearly. And I think that's the move you can look at and say, yes, hiring him definitely put something in this team's head that they can compete with anyone, and they've done that.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Jim Bob before on the podcast. You have not been shy about your Jim Bob love.
Hey, I wanted him. Well, I don't know if I necessarily wanted him.
You wanted him for the OC job. Don't lie. You did.
I absolutely did. I even thought of him as possibly a head coach, but I'll calm down a little bit.
Calm down on the Jim Bob Cooter hype. He's drinking the Kool-Aid, folks.
I'm drinking the Cooter. No, we're not going there.
So anyway, this game, I mean, the Bears gave you some hope, and then it's like, there we go, giving the game away with an interception. I was listening to it on the road as I was driving back up north through like a snowstorm, and it was kind of insane. But Leonard Floyd looks impressive. He had 7 QB hurries, and it's just continually all over the field. Announcers are calling his name all the time.
Yeah, he didn't show up in the stat sheet with a sack, but anyone who watched that game saw the impact he had. He was fantastic in this game. Like, he straight up dominated their left tackle, and every week he seems to have more and more of those dominating plays consistently, and that is such a good sign for a young pass rusher.
Yeah, Vic Fangio has been so key for his development, and just it's like a snap by snap thing. Like, you look and you see improvement every single snap. Like, every week he's doing something that you didn't see the week before, and you see improvement, and that's what you need with young guys. Something that the Bulls don't do relatively well. Vic Fangio has done well with Leonard Floyd. You see constant improvement. What are you going to do today to get better? Vic Fangio?
The Bulls should hire Vic Fangio.
Do it by all means, please. But Leonard Floyd's been great. He's definitely a bright spot for this team moving forward, and someone that I continue to watch down the stretch. I hope to God he does not get hurt. I hope to God. Please no.
Yeah.
Can't have another one on IR.
I think we've talked about Leonard Floyd probably every week since probably we drafted him. And he's been the real deal. He's been everything you just want to see. Like you said, you want to see improvement every week, play by play, and that's what he's done, which it's going to be really, really excited about this guy's future and what could become a really good defense behind his play.
Yeah, I'm excited moving forward. Another guy I'm excited about, Matt Barkley, has another really good game in Detroit. I'm not going to jump on the bus and be like Matty B for starter 2017. He could be if the situation pans out to be that way, but he's a decent backup in my opinion. He's earned that backup spot for sure.
Yeah, he's been so good. We talked about his accuracy last week. Still just putting every deep ball he throws on the money. Like, he doesn't miss deep throws right now. And he's just been consistent, and he's given the Bears a reason to consider